welcome to our December events meeting. As there's no members of the public, we'll go straight into the main meeting. So the first item is 062, which is apologies for absence. There is none. Okay, thank you. And then 063 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011 and to consider any request for dispensations in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in agenda items.
No.
Nothing.
No. 064 is the minutes to resolve to approve as a correct record the notes of the meetings of the committee held on the 26th of October 2022 and to authorise the chair to sign the official minutes. Yep.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. Sure. Sense. Yep. Just initials on that one. Thank you. Okay, 065 is clerk's report.
Just a short one. Just on remembrance, I've chased up LCC re next year's road closure by email and by phone, and they said they will get back to us after the rush of all the Christmas markets has finished, because obviously they do all the road closures for the Christmas markets.
So, item
Sorry,
zero.
just on that then, we got a date when they'll be back to us, so they always just open
No.
it.
You never get a date.
It'll be a matter of just chasing them up and going.
Yeah.
Keep chasing it until we get response.
Okay.
I'll chase sort of first week in the new year.
Okay.
066 is Remembrance Parade to review this year's parade. Now, I wasn't there, obviously, because I had got a prior engagement, but having listened to a few bits and pieces that have happened, there are various things that we need to review. And personally, I think the interaction with certain members that were representing other groups was appalling. And quite frankly, I don't think it was acceptable to do it in that manner on that day to kick off just because they didn't agree with the order of the parade.
It's all a bit vague for me.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Maybe intentionally, no I wasn't,
No.
so...
Yeah, we check, normally,
Sorry to interrupt
the thing is, with the Remembrance Parade, we now, as the civic authority, have to arrange it. RBL cannot organise a parade anymore. So we work with them to arrange the parade, but it is in our name and it is our responsibility to do it.
Right.
Rick, obviously being ex-military,
Yeah.
and because Falklands anniversary, he wanted to change the order of people laying wreaths and in the parade, because traditionally it's been civic dignitaries followed by military.
Oh, right,
He wanted to reverse that
yes.
and put military first, followed by civic dignitaries.
Yeah.
And a couple of
A
dignitaries
couple of dignitaries
complained
very,
significantly on the day,
Quite verbally.
yeah,
quite verbally
and quite loudly.
and quite loudly.
In public.
In public.
Yeah.
And
Behind your back, but
yeah, we felt it was
comments that were made.
disrespectful because it wasn't, it was our decision and we clearly advertised it prior to that it would be military priority
Yeah,
for a specific reason.
yeah.
They were aware of that, but because they kicked off, the order of parade on the day did get changed.
So is this district?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have a separate kind of drains up on these items whereby, or does it happen here, I don't know, you know, where you focus on that particular item, so you tease out, you know, the good bits, the bits that we want to do again, the bits that are needed to be focused upon,
Yeah.
so then that document then goes into, if you like, next year. Do we do that sort of stuff? Or?
Well, we will always review each event
Yeah.
after we've done it
Yeah.
and work out what went well, what didn't go so well,
Yeah.
and then that then becomes part of the planning process for
In
next
terms
year.
of officially recording it in a document,
That will be in,
I guess yes.
that's not, yeah, it's just the
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing, because obviously, you know, because of the official nature
Mhm.
of recording it and the fact of the class recording it, it becomes an official document, I guess, rather
Yeah.
than just
Yeah.
a note of activities that need to be focused on for the following year.
Mhm.
yeah. I think the thing is that when we're doing the planning stages of the event,
Yeah.
if we're meeting with particular groups to do that and it's not a official
Yeah.
events meeting,
Yeah.
then that is very much in note form, and that, you know, that
You
is
can
then
do that.
circulated, and
Mm.
so that sort of
Yeah.
thing, that's where the detail is more, but obviously in the minutes from this meeting, you don't get so much detail in that. But-
When do you hold those? You know, when's the meeting for Remembrance Parade, perhaps?
Well, we would normally start that process around about the summer,
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
normally.
we've booked in the road closure ready, well in advance.
Yeah.
But in terms of planning the actual event, start talking to the groups.
Would it be good to have, you know, the drains up on the
Mhm.
event in more detail, I don't know, in January or before
Yeah,
Christmas
we
or
can,
something?
yeah, we can.
Just so that...
So
well,
kind of a
still-
bit of a document of what went
What
well,
actually, yeah.
what we're going to keep for next year, what we
Yeah.
need to
Just while it's
change.
fresh in people's minds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, we could produce a document
For
from.
each event, basically.
Right,
But in terms of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
discussion
yeah.
of the review of this year's parade, if
Mhm.
we just detailed out, and then if we
I
could
just
just
do a bit of a
Yeah, you
debrief
did, you did.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
with things that were
pop it
Yeah,
in a sort of, yeah.
and then put that into the drive under each
Drive
event.
in, yes.
Yeah.
So, obviously, that was one element, but then the other element was the fact, because the parade got changed slightly, then that then affected the laying of the wreaths slightly, so then people got mixed up a little bit, and the other major problem was that the members of the public were wanting to stand on the road in the high street, but they couldn't because the road was not closed, which
Yes.
was not our choice.
Yes.
And trying to manage that was a nightmare, and it cannot happen like that again because it's not safe.
No, agreed.
So therefore, if that's what LCC require of us next year to keep the road open, then we won't be able to do the remembrance in that format at all, because it won't work.
No, we'd have to argue hard to,
Yeah.
because a couple of years ago, there was the suggestion, I don't know, I read it somewhere, something about a static parade as opposed to...
We did do
Yeah,
static parade.
last
we
year we
did.
did a static parade rather than a
I think it
marching
was
parade.
small and go, it didn't go down well.
No, it didn't, no.
So,
But then we did have the road closure for that. We were allowed to have the road closure for that
Because we were the only people who had a road closure for that day.
right.
So if there's two road closures,
Yes.
they say you can't have the same road closed twice in the same day.
Okay.
Jan has spoken to Highways about it and tried to sort of argue the point that for safety reasons we require it closed. Because if it's not closed, it's not going to be safe to manage the event
For sure.
with the number of people that attend. So
The only, I mean, it's not an ideal situation, but the only other way you'd get around it is to have one road closure that goes from morning all the way through,
Way through the
but
day.
then you've got to man the road closure all day,
Mm.
which is not ideal.
No,
Yeah.
probably not feasible.
And it also means that if it's a different group organising one in the morning and one in the afternoon, whoever applies for the road closure is responsible for it for the whole day rather than just for your event.
We were fortunate that when the issues were where people were spilling onto the road and Karen and I had to literally stand in the road with the traffic coming
Mm.
round us, that we were in direct line with our local police sergeant and PCSO who were laying reeds, so they saw everything, so they'll be brilliant support.
did
When
they
we
make,
go
did they
back
make
to
any
us.
comments?
Yes, we spoke to her.
We spoke to the PCSO after the event and they made.
And I was talking to her on Saturday at the Christmas fair about it as well.
Am I right in thinking that ours will be the only event next year? Or do we not
We
know?
sure?
We don't know for sure.
We're not, no, we don't know for sure, but that's the word that's going about.
Yes.
LCC didn't seem to agree with that 100%.
They
so-
said that they'd had inquiries,
Okay.
so we don't really know what's going on. They won't confirm necessarily what we can and can't have this early, so it's all a bit up in the air.
See, they don't look at the road closure till about August. That's the problem. We didn't know what time our road closure was for this remembrance until this August, because they look at things in a clear next come along.
You know, don't know. So Harold obviously organised the other event. Within his march, who were the bands or the groups within that? Were they different?
Paid for, I think.
I think there was one from Peterborough, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are elements that join both, and there are elements that only do one. Certain groups will only support one, certain groups want to support both.
Right.
So it's very complicated, and it is not an ideal situation, and if it happens again in that way next year, then we are going to have to be quite firm with highways and make it very clear that we would not be able to do the parade if we can't have that road closure. I mean, literally, you need it for about half an hour, really, just to make it safe, don't you?
Yeah.
That's all you need it for, but you can't have it with the amount of people there because they're so used to being in front of the War Memorial
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get them to go behind the War Memorial, which is what we tried to do, the groups do it because that's what they've been instructed to do, but then the general public do not. And then they spill out onto the road and they presume that the traffic is not coming through, and it is still coming through.
So presumably it starts where? Down by the co-op and the...
No, this year it started at the Servicemen's Club.
Okay.
Yeah,
Down
so
Church
this
Street
year
and
we
came
did
that way.
Servicemen's Club up Church Street and then into the churchyard.
Again,
Right, okay, so
on this say-so of highways, because they wanted us to close
the other way.
a
A
different
different
road.
road.
So in an ideal world then, where would
We
it...
would start at the co-op
Yeah.
ideally
The
and
co-op.
go from there.
And then the marchers then would obviously go past, as you know, they would the cenotaph in London, they go past the memorial, past the church. Would they then turn?
No, they would just literally go to the memorial and then form up in front. That's what they normally do.
So when we had the static parade, all of the military organisations and community groups formed up officially in front of on the road in front of the memorial, and then got called up one by one. So it was quite a nice arrangement for the static parade,
Yes.
and then the members of the public are either side of that.
Right.
So that worked quite well in terms of in front of the war memorial, but the parade would then start from co-op, which is fine, we can do that
Yeah.
if highways allow us to do so.
Yeah. And you won't know until August.
No.
There's got to be a way of putting some pressure on them for that.
So that would be the ideal scenario in terms of location, and then in terms of the layout of the parade. The only thing I thought of in terms to try and still do military as a priority, but placate other groups, is whether you have it almost as if it's two separate parades. So you have military organisations at the front, then a slight gap, and then civic organisations headed up by dignitaries, and then groups like, I don't know, the various different schools and stuff like that go behind them.
Alternatively,
What?
a military wreath and then,
No. You would still do the military layers
Yeah.
of the wreaths first.
okay,
The only one that would potentially have to be the first one would be the MP, because he is president of the RBL.
okay.
And that was the main reason that they wanted him to be heading up the parade, which I sort of get, but nobody told us that before the event.
So he was
So
actually-
therefore,
yeah.
we were not aware of that.
He just asked.
We were treating him as the MP
He
and
was
not
Yeah.
as
he?
president of the
Right.
RBL. So it's working out how you form things up, what order you put people in, and once we've made that decision, that is it. And it should not be changed on the day, because it caused problems by changing it on the day, because then everybody's in the wrong place for what we planned at the end. So then it's difficult to monitor it if you don't know that that's going to happen. So we now know what the situation was, what was thrown up. We now need to address that. But if it is our desire to do it in the same way that we did it, maybe tweak it a little bit. But if that is our desire, that is our desire. We are the civic authority. We are the ones organising it. It is not down to anybody else to tell us how we should be doing the parade.
If you kind of look at the one past the cenotaph, obviously, royalty come first.
Yeah.
We haven't got any royalty. But then it's a case of they'll lay wreaths on behalf of military organisation, military elements, and then it's civic, isn't it? So we're following, if you like, the
Just
same.
skipping out the royalty.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you've got obviously the various bands, march past them. So you could loosely base it on a similar fashion and sell it that way.
I think it is still, in terms of drilling down to what the event should be about, prioritising the military organisations, I think, is the right way forward. But whether you then just say, okay, the dignitaries will head up the civic side of the parade, and then we have a military side of the parade, and that's how it forms up. So they're still heading it up, but behind the military organisations rather than.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's a bit of a.
I mean, we're kind of dipping into the detail of really. In a separate session, but
Yeah. But from your point of view, you need to have the context of why.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think it's also, not for this meeting, but how do we make it better?
Yeah.
So, for the last couple of years, council offering has been slated. Obviously, Howard's been waving his flag. But how do you improve on that? How do you get a better band in? How do you get more bands in? How do you get more representation, perhaps? Maybe it's a longer event. I don't know. People have got to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's got to grow, perhaps.
Whatever we do, there will always be the group of people that will criticise it.
Doesn't
How?
stop us from trying.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We do.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I get you. I absolutely understand.
I think the problem is that our hands have been tied with another organisation involved.
Yeah.
And that has caused
Which is help for
immense
heroes, right?
problems.
Help for heroes?
No.
Not Howard.
We'll go
No.
into that at
Yeah.
the meeting.
All right, let's go sit
Yeah.
park that one.
Yeah. So there are elements that just need, certainly the safety aspect is paramount, and that needs to be addressed.
And the route.
And the route needs to be looked at, and we need to keep going back to highways and knowing what we're able to do very early on, so that we can start planning. And also, if obviously the police were there, any support that they can give to the whole aspect would be very useful, because if they are telling highways the same of what they saw on the day, then that will have an awful lot of influence. So
volunteers as well. I mean, throughout there, for each event, perhaps we could say how many volunteers we've got. So, but come to that.
Okay, so that's that one. So 067, Christmas Fair, to review the Christmas Fair. Well, in general, the consensus is that it was a very successful event. Yes, there have been a few negatives, and yes, we need to address certain parts of that. And if we're going to grow the event, then we do need to have feedback from all sides, so that we can work out how it can improve and what to do to make it better. but also we're then going to, again, we need more volunteers because, you know, there was what,
Many of us.
8 of us,
Yeah.
pretty much,
Yeah, all day.
all day, which
Yeah.
ties you up far too much.
Yeah.
And then you're not able to address any issues that come up because you're too busy dealing with other things.
Yeah.
So we do need to have more volunteers, but as it was a success, I do think that you are likely to get members of the public that will now want to help
It sees the
in
focus.
various ways.
It sees the focus on there to sort of celebrate the success.
Yeah.
Because it was a good event, and
Mhm.
that bit has got to be the focus.
Yeah. I think the idea is that we organise a public meeting in the new year to start planning next year's event and try and invite all the traders and then any members of the public, again, if we put something out about volunteers needed, etc.,
Yeah.
and see if we can get some people to put their names down, then that'd be very useful to get a few more people having a bit more input, helping out where they can. It'd be nice if we work with the businesses, there were key businesses that did put on extra activities, things through during the day, which worked really well. And that could be something to look at improving on.
Have we sent a letter thanking these businesses at all? Could we do that?
We've done it via Facebook.
Yes.
And obviously with the window competition, I have been round to see the ones that won, or got first, second, third, and I've had quite a long conversation with those people. We could do a general letter, but I think that might be best coming after the event with, you know, obviously, they're all busy now on the lead up to Christmas. So if we do a
We could do a
general
letter
letter
inviting
that
them
says,
to
thank
the
you very much for your
meeting."
support and your help with this year, we'd like to involve you more next year,
Yeah.
this
Here's
year
the
that it
date
will
for-
be. Yeah. I mean, the main thing that we need to think about at this stage is, are we happy with that weekend as a date?
Mhm.
Because the sooner we set the date, the sooner you're likely to get people committing,
Yeah.
because they do commit well in advance to Christmas events.
Yeah.
So we're either going to have to wait until we have the meeting with traders and then decide on a date at that meeting, or we're going to have to decide ourselves what date we're thinking.
Do we have a kind of a trader's email
No,
address so we can email them all?
no, unfortunately not.
Could we do that, do you think? Well,
It-
we'd ask them if they want.
We could do, yeah, we could see if they wanted an update on things. I mean, if they attend the meeting, then I think then those people, obviously, they're going to need to be updated. It would be useful. There have been various attempts at trade organisations over the years to no avail. They last for a little while and then they peter out.
I'm happy to do a walk round if you want and try and I'll just ask the question.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Well, it would be a lot easier to communicate with people quickly,
Yeah.
because you just got one email that then goes out to everybody,
That's right.
rather than having to print a load of letters and
Yeah,
go
that's
around. But yeah, I mean, it would be useful to have a database of an email.
Take that action.
I mean, even if you don't have a trader's email, if we had a database on our system, that we could just then BC them all in, so they
Yes.
haven't got each other's email
Yes,
addresses.
exactly, that's the way to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then it will just make it a lot quicker. So if they're happy to give us their email address to add to our system
Absolutely.
for contact for various bits and pieces, that would be useful.
Can we set a date?
I mean, personally, having spoken to several of the people that came to the event, they are in general happy with that weekend, because it's not too late for Christmas. And if you go too far the other way, then you're into the realms of the bigger events. Yes, it clashed with Lincoln Christmas Market, but it's a completely different thing.
And it also clashes with Bourne, doesn't it? I think.
It did this year, but
But
again,
again,
you're
it's
in a different
Far enough
area.
away, isn't it?
So it would either be the 2nd or the 9th.
Yeah, I think that's where you need to be looking, because
Yeah.
again, you've got to think about the Christmas lights, because they don't go off until the end of November.
It's quite a good time for the Christmas lights because you've got enough time to get the tree in, decorate the tree, get the Christmas lights coordinated and everything on by the time of the event.
And then as well, the church are keen to be involved again, and then it's not too far into their season of having their other services and
Yeah.
things like that, so it's sort of early enough for them. So I think in general, it may be that we
Stick with that
stick
weekend.
with that weekend.
Yeah.
Which is what, 1 second?
So that's the second of,
Second,
What
yeah.
I'll do is on the next agenda, I'll add that
As
as an
a
official.
Second,
to agree.
sorry, second week in December.
No,
no,
the
the
second
second
of December.
December,
Yeah. So
Saturday.
it'll be the very first weekend in
Yeah.
the month.
Okay, so when I do my walk round then,
Yeah,
I
you
can
could
use that
intimate
as a-
that, yeah, and say that that's what we're thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that we will be having the meeting. Now, from the point of view of the meeting, are we thinking that it would be a good idea, I mean, it needs to be in January as soon as we possibly can, rather than booking a hall again, should we try and tag it into the full council meeting?
One here, sorry.
And do it prior to, instead of, you could do that followed by a public forum for probably 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever you want to do.
So that would be 6 o'clock, or say you did it for half an hour, so make
Yeah.
it 6 o'clock on the 16th.
It's half an hour long.
So it's 16th of January.
Yeah, 16th of January.
So what are we asking? What are we all informing? We're inviting them to a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
To get any ideas, feedback, what they think we need to improve on, you know, just general
if
ideas
there's
of what.
key people who want to get involved in the organising of the day or
Yeah.
anything like that, just so, again, then we've got a kind of a group of people that we know we can contact.
Yeah.
We've got ideas that we can feed in so they feel like they're involved in the planning rather than just us imposing things. And see whether we can get some ideas going, really.
It
Yeah.
may be better, and I'm just thinking, that half an hour isn't very long. If we did,
5 minutes? Or an
well,
hour?
if you said at 5:30, most of them will shut at about 5. And then they've not got to go home and then come back again.
Yes.
They can just literally come straight from work.
I think they need an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could have our drains up on the event beforehand, we could use that as a driver to say, okay, these are the things we think we do well, these are the things that
Yeah.
weren't so good. Take their feedback
Yeah.
and then kind of, as you say, go through and ask volunteers, get them involved in some sort of regular scheduled planning process, so that next year
Yeah.
there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we put together the ideas part of it at that meeting and get the feedback, then we can coordinate another meeting in probably 2 months' time and then sort of drill down on a bit more detail and those that want to be fully involved can be at that meeting and those that don't
Yeah.
and just want to be kept informed, then we just keep them informed.
Yeah.
And do it like that, because you will have an element that want to get fully involved, but you'll have the majority don't, and they just literally want to be kept informed as we move forward.
We don't do a summer fair, do we? Don't do a summer fair.
We haven't
No.
at the moment, obviously we did Jubilee last year.
Yeah.
So we've sort of thought around
Coronation.
potentially doing, coronation, we've got to do something for coronation, so that's sort of the next thing that we're thinking
It's
about.
working out timings and
Yeah.
what day and all, depending on what official events are going on,
Yeah,
how you,
yeah,
Good,
once
yeah.
that information comes together though,
Mhm.
it could be that, you tie something in with the traders and say,
Do two things together.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I was going to say, if you have too many, you've got to be aware of the licensing
yes,
aspect.
exactly, we've got to
Because
think
we
about
can't have too many, like, we can only be restricted to 5 licences a year.
what for road closures?
No, for temporary events,
Temporary
events.
notice.
On our own land, we don't need one.
Okay,
So if we're going to do an event in Carter's Park with music,
yes,
that's fine.
that's fine.
If it's got sale of alcohol, then we do need one.
Okay,
But if we're doing something in the high street with music and sale of alcohol, then we definitely need one.
Which field?
Yeah.
Well, that is, yeah, I mean, there's things to think about, whether you've
Yes.
shifted it slightly.
One thing that did come up that somebody approached Sophie and I about was that we put some gazebos over drop curbs, which
Yeah.
we've got to be
Yeah.
aware
Yeah,
of. because
absolutely.
And I think
It's a bit
somebody had a
confusing.
generator on the pavement, so
Yeah.
they couldn't get up the drop curb and then into the business that they wanted to get into.
And again, those sort of things, they were all made aware that they shouldn't have it on and they shouldn't.
But it's
the
having the
problem
number
is
of
you
people
haven't
there
got
to set
anybody
up, isn't it?
go around to check things because just was not enough people to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the things that need ironing out and making sure that everybody does tell us before they come exactly what their requirements are, because some did and some didn't.
Yeah.
And then they turned up with something that was different to what they'd
Mhm.
said they were going to turn up with. So it's just making sure of what they're doing, where they're exactly going to be, and working out the spacings so that
Yeah.
it works better. I guess
Mhm.
there's things to think about, absolutely, but it's a good.
Because it's 10 past and we've got the locks.
So
When we've spoken about having kind of a drains up after each of these kind of events. When do we want to schedule something in for Remembrance and Christmas Fair? And do you want to just organise that with Jan via email?
yeah,
Well, if
I
we can
think if we-
organise our first meeting after Christmas, maybe,
Mhm.
before full council and before the
Yeah.
meetings.
And then we can do it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so item B is to discuss and resolve to agree the best lit house competition with voucher as a prize. So this is to you, Clive, you've managed to,
That's where I missed it. Yeah, so basically I've got a £20 voucher. I'll bump it up to 40 quid for a voucher. It's just really how you want to advertise it.
Mhm.
And if you agree with, it was only my idea, best lit up house
Mhm.
in the parish. Judging it, if you went around that route, I was going to suggest using the parish site or Spotted Holbeach and the house with the most likes to be
Yeah.
awarded with the voucher.
Mhm.
So basically, we're providing it,
Mhm.
but the choice of prize winner
Mhm.
It's down to public.
is down to the public.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
we're not.
Yeah, because ultimately then because it's going to have to be done fairly rapidly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you haven't got the time to be faffing about, have we?
No,
So,
that's right.
I mean, the better way of doing it would be to advertise it and share it, obviously through whatever sites, but any photographs of it need to come to us potentially,
Yeah, so
and
yeah,
then
that's
do the
other
likes
thought I
through our
had.
page, so that it drives people to our page anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not questioning about the wording or how we
Yeah.
can do it. It's just really a case of the likes on whatever site. But I was thinking about the addresses. That was it.
Yeah,
Because the address, if your house is nominated and you want to win the prize, then you've got to send your address to the club.
Mm.
So then no public exposure of people's.
Yeah.
yeah,
Addresses.
it's
Yeah.
just literally the photograph.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we should be able to, I mean, what we could do is if they send their photos in, we store them in a folder in the SharePoint site, and then we could label them each the names of the people, and then whoever's won, we can contact them for their address at the end.
Could do what I did with
Yeah, you could do
the
that.
competition and give everyone a number,
Yeah.
but keep the name corresponding to the number in the office folder so that no councillors would know.
Yeah.
It would only be Karen and I.
You
knew
can keep the
who's-
details
yeah.
at your end. Yeah.
I mean, you could overthink it as well, because I could be driving along the street, I'll take a picture of somebody's house, and then I'll post it. That person knows that house is, might not want me to take a picture and then
yeah.
post it.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you've got any other ideas, I've laid awake thinking about overthinking this for cases like that. So,
Yeah.
but you know, we don't have to do it
Yeah.
either.
I think we should do it and
I
see
think
how
it's
it
a,
goes.
yeah, it's a nice
Do you
idea.
want to go and deal with it? Yeah. We'll just stop just for a
Yeah,
minute
sure.
while I do the locks.
I'll just.
Difficult.
It was very difficult.
Okay. Yeah, it's alright, I'll put this bit out with you.
Right, carry on.
Okay, so we are in agreement that we do it,
Right.
I think. So should we do the vote on that first?
Yeah, that's
So who's going to
Do we need
propose?
to do a date for a deadline?
Well, if we do it in principle that we agree it, and then we can go to the detail then, can't we?
Yeah.
Second, all agreed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we'll need the nominations in by X date, and then voting will happen between X date and X date, presumably. Is that how we're going to play
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I think so. I think, you know, just keep it simple. I haven't got a calendar in front of me, let's work out.
So, I mean, when do people normally put their Christmas lights up by?
Well, they'll all, people, this
October the
weekend,
1st.
people will be starting in a vengeance, won't they, really?
Well, if you look down Fen Road, they've been there for
Yeah, a lot of
weeks.
people are already.
So in terms of press releases and things like that, the press release for Christmas Fair
Yeah.
summary is going out in the Guardian this week, I
Yeah.
believe. So do we want to try and get something
For the next week, but you could start pushing it onto Facebook.
Push it onto Facebook, we could put a little poster on the digital screen, and do it that way, and then deadline for entries, and then we'll have a voting period, so.
Well, do you want to sort of do it, the deadline for entries, sort of the weekend before Christmas?
And then do you want
just
voting
vote
across
in
the
that?
Christmas week?
If Monday's the 19th,
Yeah.
which gives people this weekend and
Next
next weekend
weekend.
to put the lights up, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
So
If you have,
if entries are in for the 19th, and then people have between the 19th and what, the 23rd to vote?
Yeah, 23rd, I think
Yeah.
is the deadline.
Yeah. Because even if they don't get their voucher until after Christmas,
That's
it
right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Spend it in the sales fund.
Yeah.
so nominations by 19/12, and then announcement 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're happy to produce, say, posted, put on wherever, and put stuff on Facebook. If we then draft something for the press
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
just ping it around,
I think so, yeah.
and make sure we're happy, because then we can get, if we get it done soon enough, then it will either go into, we might be able to get it in next Tuesday for Free Press, and then again for the Voice on the Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
would be quite good if we could,
Yeah.
because we can mention it at the meeting.
That's-
Actually, do you
Yes,
want
yes.
to also state in the press release about the competition for the Christmas lights competition, best dressed thingy house, and then also mention about the window display, because we haven't actually announced that
No,
yet, who the winners were
Yeah.
and things like that. That would probably be nice to
do the whole
turn
thing all
off
together.
Christmas in that.
Okay.
I wouldn't suggest saying the amount.
No,
Just open
No,
up.
just as a voucher,
Just a voucher.
yeah.
Oh, do you want me to put who the voucher's from, or no? Just,
That's the,
Or just put a
that's the-
shopping voucher
well,
or something.
that's the caveat, is that Dunelm would like people to.
Right, so a Dunelm voucher then.
There's a Dunelm
Yeah.
voucher.
yeah,
They have requested that we put their link in the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
With
no problem.
the insure, okay.
Yeah.
fine. I'd like
We've done it
that.
before
I
for
wouldn't
other
commit
things,
to that, but,
Yeah, it's not a problem. I'm getting benefit out of it, aren't we? So,
it would drive them then to their site.
Okay, so,
If you send me the poster, I'll put them up in the Voice.
We'll do.
here we go, I'll put some posters.
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah, so that's that one. 068 is the farmers market, and to receive an update following the meeting with the organisers and to agree a way forward. Okay, so obviously we'd started discussing around doing a farmers market. We thought, good idea, people were liking the idea. And then the indoor one popped up. So we went to the first one, had a look, and then I'd already arranged with him to meet to just discuss whether we could help support in any way or try and grow the event. So we had quite a conversation with him. The main issue is that he is happy with how he is doing it currently. He thinks that it's working and he likes where it is. He is looking at potentially having a secondary venue, but whether that is within the town or not, don't know. He didn't say any more about that. So it can't really grow any more where it is. I did say from my personal point of view, I felt that it is important to try and link the town with it, because you're going to soon get the traders not happy, because it's bringing people to the town and they're right opposite Tesco.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Which he did take on board, but I don't think he's not keen to develop that aspect at the moment. So I'm not entirely sure whether it's something that we let it run and see where it goes, and then probably revisit it later. He may or may not be taking over the running of the food festival.
Oh, right, okay.
He's in discussions at the minute.
It's whether it's
About it.
viable, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because obviously from our point of view, if we run an event, we can get some income from it, but the
Yeah.
expenditure's not the problem, because
That's
it's part of our precept. But if you're doing it as a business,
Yes.
it's more of an issue, isn't
So I
it?
think more than anything, it would be worth revisiting him in maybe a month's time and just saying, okay, are you going to do the food festival?
Yeah.
Because if he's not going to do it, then I think that is something that we seriously need to think about picking up.
Yeah.
And reverting back to just a one-day event rather than a two-day event, and try and develop that into something slightly more moving forward. Or if he is going to do it, work with him to create a bigger event for one day.
Yes.
This is a
And-
different person to the person that
Yes.
has previously run the food festival.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, because they're not running it anymore.
Okay.
So I think at this stage we just contact him again after Christmas, because he's not doing an indoor market in January, because obviously he doesn't feel it's going to be
I
viable
think
to
again,
do it.
depending on with the food festival, you're going to have to start booking stall holders
Well,
very
that's the
shortly, aren't
thing.
you?
If he
So-
hasn't made up his mind in January and he's still on the fence, then we're going to have to start having discussions around.
The individuals that participate in this farmers market, I mean, do we have their contact details?
We've got an awful lot of them,
Okay.
because most of them, quite a lot of them came to the Christmas fair.
Okay.
And if not, I mean, I must have 100, 150 contacts.
So they
Including
would
them as well.
pay him,
Yeah.
whereas they don't pay us.
This currently, all
Yeah.
of our events, we haven't charged anybody.
Because it's been sort of the first year of doing them.
Yeah. So
Um,
our events then are more appealing
Yeah.
to them.
To traders,
because they
yeah,
don't have to
definitely.
pay.
Yeah. We're debating whether to do a nominal charge for things,
Yeah.
potentially moving forward. But
but definitely nowhere near where you do commercially.
If
But
we
it's-
own farmers market.
we could, it's a
When
matter
we-
of, yeah.
Yeah, when we were discussing it in terms of what we were planning, obviously he's doing it once a month. We were thinking something more akin to, there's something that's been set up, the Lincolnshire Makers Market. That's only been set up for about a year, but they do it quarterly. So then the fourth one in the year is the Christmas one. So it kind of, you would have spring, summer, autumn, winter. Which the summer one we were thinking could be the food festival, basically. The winter one would be the Christmas one, and then you've got 2 extra in the year.
Yeah.
And that probably for a whole beach and things would be enough for a starting point to make sure you've got a good enough variety of traders. And it's a big enough event for people to
That would be
attend.
the same format as the Christmas.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
You would do it within the town
Centre.
centre, and try and encourage the businesses to be
Yeah.
involved as well.
Mm.
Um,
But obviously if
But-
he's still doing once a month,
Yeah.
you don't want to compete because, you know,
That's right.
he's doing a good thing for the town.
Yeah.
But it's just thinking about how
Any
we
other,
build on it.
Any other organisations that you're aware of doing anything for the coronation at the moment? Because then you could tie the food festival or farmers
Mm.
market in with that.
In that,
I don't, I've forgotten what date it is now, July?
6th of May.
Sixth of May. Yeah.
Bit early, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's nothing that's been said currently.
Yeah.
I think people are still sort of waiting to see what the actual,
Thing will be,
Mhm.
yeah.
but from our point of view, we do need to start making those decisions, which is on the next one on the agenda. So yeah, I think if we agenda it for our February meeting to make a decision one way or another, what we're going to do with anything to do with food, festival, farmers markets, etc., and revisit him in January and just get an update
But
of
then
what he's thinking.
we need to know whether, if he's organising the food festival, we can then work on helping out and building it. If he's not, we're going to have to start
talking
and making
deciding what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so the proposal is that we go back to him in January and then agenda it again for February.
Mhm.
Okay.
Proposer, thanks Peter, seconder.
Sorry.
Agreed?
Yep.
So the 069 is coronation.
It's the 6th. I've just looked at that.
Yeah.
Sixth, okay.
To resolve to agree the event for next year's coronation. Now, we did start having a little chat around this. Our feeling was that obviously it's on a Saturday for the coronation. We felt that obviously most people would want to be at home and watching it because it's something that most of us have never seen. So Saturday's out. We're not sure whether we're going to have the beacon lighting. We're been sort of, it's intimated that it is going to happen, but nothing official's come out yet. Which if it did, it's what do you do? Do you make that your only event? Or do you try and do 2 like we did last time? But then again, you need your volunteers because expecting the same people to do beacon lighting followed by an event on the Sunday is a lot to ask of people.
Do we have the budget to hire, you know, maybe a large TV screen or receiver on the side of a truck or something like that that could televise it in the town throughout the day?
We did look at
Oh
that.
yeah,
didn't we?
I looked into that with BBC because you have to get special permission from the BBC to
Yeah.
broadcast it on a large screen for the Jubilee, but we didn't take it any further because
Right.
I think it's very, very
Cost
expensive.
prohibitive.
It's more the licensing rather than
It's
the...
it's the licence to broadcast their programme live to a big audience.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
what would pubs do then? They've got a licence, haven't they?
They're just broadcasting.
They're just doing it on their own telly, aren't they?
Mm. Yeah, I suppose if you just got a TV licence and you sort of telly for the pub, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Just a thought.
Yeah, so it's I mean, our thoughts initially were to do something on the Sunday in Carter's Park and do like a picnic family fun day. So have activities going on, basically hiring stuff and let people come and enjoy the day, basically. But if we are going to be doing the beacon lighting, that is potentially going to be on Saturday, which then puts you in the rounds of Saturday, Sunday.
What
which
time would it be on a Saturday then?
It would be late, it's a set time you have to have it lit, so
Yeah.
it's as it's starting to get dark,
Yeah.
so it would, in May, it would
Was it
be
9
about.
o'clock?
Well, that was because it was in June,
Mm.
so you'd probably be
Before
about,
8.
It was 8:45, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
so it'd probably be about 8ish.
Yeah, 8:15.
Yeah.
So if we're doing the beacon lighting, it's best to have some sort of event that evening.
Well, I would
It
have
was
thought
a
so.
success, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
really
It was
Yeah.
good. There were lots of people
Yeah.
there.
I mean, my thoughts around it were that if you were going to just concentrate on the beacon lighting, you could, again, you could encourage the groups that got involved, and the ATC did a barbecue, etc. around there. The problem being that it is, you're right on the main road, so you might have to shut part of the main road as well, maybe, I don't know.
It would be advisable.
But you could utilise the lanterns that we have left and create a parade from, you could even start, say, at Netherfield. Gather in
Go around
Netherfield and walk up the Wignallsgate Road,
Mm.
up to the beacon, with your lanterns, ready for the...
I think you've got to have some way of knowing how many
Yeah, it's
people are actually going to
difficult.
bring lanterns.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could do anything with the schools, I mean, you know, do they get involved to,
They have done, they do get involved, but again, it's how, obviously with the coronation it was different because it was within half term.
Yeah.
Not coronation, Jubilee, it was within half term, so then that made it more difficult. This one, it's going to be sort
Should
of
be alright, shouldn't it?
in term time,
we've
isn't
got the
it?
Monday off.
You got the Monday off,
I
yeah.
was just looking, Spalding Road is an A road, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
So you're going to have to put an A road diversion in if you close
Yeah,
that.
You'll go around the A17.
So you'd have to go.
Personally,
Yeah,
I would,
17.
I would look
Yeah.
at closing the road round the back of the
Yeah.
beacon rather than...
Yeah, so Wignallsgate, yeah. Because last time we closed a section of Wignallsgate just to keep people safe so they could spill out onto the road.
Yeah.
But you could do it further up if you wanted to parade or whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah, okay.
So it would be useful to know whether it is likely to happen
Yeah, I can send an email.
and just see whether there's been anything official come out yet. Because if
Yeah.
it's not happening,
I think the family fun day type thing on a Sunday would be
Yeah.
a good idea.
it's your only other real option because you can do it in the park. It's it's relatively easy to set up and organise. You don't actually need a lot of stewarding because if you're renting in things, then they would be manning them. If it's something that like we had the other day with the rodeo reindeer and things like that, they send staff with them.
Yeah.
The biggest issue you're going to have is the world and his wife is going to be booking things. So you need to be booking them rather swiftly. So if we can get an idea before we meet next when the beacon is definitely a thing, then we're going to have to make a decision at the next meeting what we're going to do.
Might be too big a thought, you know, you got obviously the Queen's coronation, now you've got Charles. Maybe the event celebrates both of those sorts of things, so you have, you know, people dressed in the era of when the Queen was coronated, and then you have something for Charles. Don't know, could be 30s and 40s, could be now.
I think when they did the history display of Old Beach and stuff like that, that always goes down well for those type of events, for people to kind of look back and nostalgic and things. But yeah, it's just...
Yeah, but I think you're right, touching on it. It is that nostalgic event, but
Yeah.
also bringing it up to date so people can look forward as well.
Yeah. It would be nice to have it in Carter's Park with the Jubilee Garden, and then maybe we kind of turn the Jubilee Garden and put a plaque for the new king as well.
Yeah.
And kind of...
Right.
Develop it a little bit.
The faces of Charles, so people will
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Or the ears.
just tears.
Yeah. So we just if we defer that one to next meeting, so we actually make decisions, set dates
Yeah.
of what we're going to do at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think we need to start, because we'd have to start booking things in, so, yeah.
Proposer, please. Thank you. Seconder. Thank you. All agreed. Thank you.
070, town crier.
Oh, yay!
Over
It's
to
just
you,
you as
Clive.
well.
Yeah, I'm just flying.
Brilliant.
6 months down the line, I'm just going to be flying ideas, so get them out of me now. So, yeah, done a bit of research, just found a couple of companies up. Prices range from between 250 to 650 quid. Price might be prohibitive off the back of that. You know, initially I thought it was going to be cheaper than that. You could do something quarterly, you could do something for your town events, you could do something for the coronation. You know, if you like the idea, I can still phone around and see if I can get a cheaper price, or we can find somebody locally that's got a big booming voice. Not me.
Not you.
No, because I'm dressed as Santa, but I'm dressed as a
Okay.
train.
Yeah,
Are there any other towns around that have one? Does Spalding have a?
no.
I
No.
don't believe so.
I-
It was
I
just
thought-
There's some that do appear on Look North. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
whether
think
that's
I thought that
Lincoln or-
probably Bourne has had one at some point because they've got a mayor. Am I right in thinking
Yeah,
that?
no town council, so
yeah.
you've got
I don't
that.
know about the.
I'm sure I've seen
Finalities.
something that they've had a town crier at some point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whether they have recently, I wouldn't like to know.
Mhm.
But it's worth looking at, and maybe it is something that's maybe more akin to the coronation, maybe.
But it may be nice actually if you get a local person to do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's somebody loud enough in Holby
I'm sure there
who can
is.
do that. And then it,
Just
you know,
hire them.
Or maybe you
That's
could put
true.
out a call for anybody that's interested.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
cry. Oh, sorry.
Right. Yes.
Dear me.
There are bound to be some theatre lovers, aren't there, that like,
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm
Bound
sure
to
there would
be.
be, yeah. Sure there must be somebody.
I mean, we have a councillor who has previously done quite a lot of performing.
Mm.
Yeah. I'll have to, if we, in principle, I think the idea is a good one that you could do for key events. You wouldn't want to do it all the time, but if you just used
Yeah.
it occasionally.
That's it.
So maybe, you know, after Christmas we put something out there on social media saying, you know, is there anybody out there that either knows somebody or
Mm.
would be prepared to do
Well,
it?
again, with the
or-
coronation one, it would be nice to, what normally happens is you've got the various groups that are organising little things, because most people are going to organise stuff for the coronation. If we can try and coordinate that
Yeah.
a bit more, so it all happens,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's all going to be the same weekend, but if we can coordinate it on the same day, again, you know, town crier and other things like that, if there's people in the community who want to get involved, that would be a good way of doing it, wouldn't it?
In parallel then, I'll continue drilling down on
Okay.
third-party
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah.
And then we've got options and we've,
And then we've got options.
yeah.
That we can use, it's in our back pocket, we can use it
Mhm.
if and when.
Yeah.
So do we need to amend the agenda item?
Uh,
Because the result will be to employ a town crier
Well-
is to investigate.
Investigate, yeah.
No.
Investigate. So can I have a proposer and seconder for the amendment, please?
Mhm. Think two.
And then a proposer and a seconder for the agenda items.
Okay. Then 071, to discuss and resolve to agree a way forward with enhancing links with Holbridge twin town.
Can I
Just
just
a-
ask, sorry, to
Yeah.
start with, I don't recollect seeing any signs up to say that we're twinned.
There is,
Is
yeah,
there?
on some of the bigger ones there is.
Okay,
And actually you've got, some of the pictures that we've got here have been
Yeah.
given by the town.
There's something in Karen's office.
Yeah, there's two. In
Mm.
fact, there's two down here and there's one in there. Just for background.
Yeah.
The district, so South Holland, is actually, or was, twinned with Cezanne and Speyer in Germany. Don't know whether the one in Germany is still existing, I don't know. There is still a group in existence, or there was, certainly up to lockdown, there was a group in existence that still does the twinning. And I will be seeing the chairman of that group on Friday. So I can ask the question and say, you know, are they still doing it? Because I think lockdown year, it was actually our turn to host, but obviously it didn't happen because couldn't travel, so it didn't happen.
What would we host? Or would they come over?
They basically come over, they stay with
in a
with
dinghy?
various members or extended group. They do take them out a bit, they tend to probably take them a little bit further afield sometimes.
Right.
And then they have a civic meal, which is normally hosted somewhere in Spalding, and District Council have hosted it
So is it the
previously,
whole
but
of
we...
the district that's twinned, or was Holbeach?
Originally, I'm sure it was just Holbeach.
Right, okay.
Originally, I believe, because when I was at school, many years ago, even the junior school at that point, we did used to go in your final year at school, there was a visit to France that you could go on. And then when I was at the high school, again, you used to do exchanges with both Speyer and Cezanne. That happened then. That hasn't happened for many years. But the group that exists, they do still have connections and they do still meet with families. So it is in existence. I know the last time I had a conversation with the chairman, he was keen to find new blood,
Yeah,
because obviously they're all getting older,
yeah.
and he wanted to try and bring in younger people, if at all possible. Don't know whether that happened or didn't, because obviously we went into lockdown. So it's definitely something to look into and maybe see if we can support in some way to maybe create an event around it.
That's it.
So if they are coming here,
Yeah.
around that time we do an event that
Yeah.
is based around the twinning,
That's it.
and encourage more people to get involved in that way. Other than that,
I mean, the original purpose of it was to bring towns together, wasn't it? After
Yeah, it was.
World War II, so,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of getting historical now.
yeah,
Mhm.
So, I voted staying for Brexit. But yeah, since Brexit, I think probably those ties need to be closer.
yeah. Like I say, I'm not entirely sure where we're at with who's meant to be going where
Yeah.
this time round. I suspect that they'll try and resurrect something this year, because obviously
Yeah.
they've had 2 full years of not really being able to do anything.
It's more civic people that are doing it, aren't they? So-
The group that meets and actually goes over, they are normal, as it were. They're not civic.
Right.
However, when
members
they
of the
come
public.
here or you go there, the civic authority does host to a degree, so
Yeah.
they'll put on something for them.
But I think that
But
should
the
be
actual
Holbeach
families,
doing that
Yeah.
rather than going off.
It's got to bring, yeah.
families themselves are not civic.
No.
There's nobody within them that I'm aware of that is civic.
Right, okay.
I mean, off the back of that, which may be something that can be looked at, is that in the past, the local round table was very active in Holbeach, and they do a European circuit. Now, the round table's gone now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you basically link with anybody that has the same end number. So here it was 1082, So any group within Europe or anywhere that had an 82
Yeah.
within their number, you then did a rota so that each year that a different country would host. So they went all over Europe. So that is, you know, there's still an element of those people that did that. They still live here. They still would probably like to get involved in some way, shape or form in creating links in some way, maybe.
Yeah, it's how to get the town more involved and awareness.
Definitely, if they are still wanting to progress it and they want to push it, I personally think if you could do an event based around, if obviously with Suzanne, if you did a French week,
Yeah.
and you've got businesses to do something,
Yeah.
you know, decorate their windows, offer something that's you know, a little bit more, and then maybe do a more of an open air event akin to what they do in France
Yeah,
in
do.
summer months.
And we have one of those lovely markets
Yes.
where you eat food and
Yes,
things and drink
that's
wine.
the
exactly.
sort of
That'd be
thing
fun.
that I was thinking.
Except I don't want to be on a road closure.
Even if they don't come personally themselves to begin with,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could send a bucket load of TIR full of produce that we could.
Yeah, it's a champagne region then.
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's all right.
It's an awful shame, isn't it?
Terrible.
No, but we could perhaps get a subset of each element of we can do some stalls ourselves,
Yeah.
just for a couple of days.
So I think if you're happy, I will speak with the gentleman on
Yep.
Friday.
Yeah.
See if we can arrange a bit of a
Yeah.
get together with him and talk around how we can develop it and how we can help them to develop it.
Yeah.
And then we can come bring it back to how we as a council support it.
Yeah, we do have somebody that speaks perfect French as well. So.
It will be useful.
You must have some contacts.
Wrong
Area,
area, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
yes, you
completely
were.
different area.
You were south, weren't you?
So yeah, so I think that's the best way to go around that one. Because it will develop naturally if we get that conversation going.
It's a slow burn, isn't it? So it's
Yeah.
just kind of ticking away. If there is a link, then great. If not, then well, you know, we'll go to Germany, I suppose, and get some bratwurst.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to know whether that link still exists, because it did. The German link was there, but I don't think there is a group that.
What was the town again?
Speyer. I think it's sort of Black Forest area, I think.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, I can't be sure.
Nice wine as well.
So it may be worth looking at that. If it has lapsed, maybe we could resurrect.
Rekindle it, yeah. What have we got to offer though? You know, you've got champagne,
Cabbages.
Cabbages, sprouts,
It doesn't sound as good, does
cauliflowers,
it?
pumpkin and potatoes.
Yeah,
I'm
Mostly
sure we could
cabbages.
come up with something.
I'm sure we could. So, we've got shearers, butchers. That's
Yeah.
all right. That's good.
is that the one behind the house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
we do very nice meatballs.
Been here 20 years and only found it the other week.
Right, they're very good.
So to agree to a resolve, a way forward is that I will instigate a discussion and then bring it back.
Talk to the Training Association and come back.
Yeah. Whatever. Whoever.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, final item 072, confirm the date and venue for the next events committee meeting. So do we want to do a quick meeting before we have our public meeting Christmas? So we can just go through stuff? And then also then we can concentrate on the coronation and make a decision.
Next meeting, the 4 weeks today is the 4th of January.
Yeah, so
Right.
probably not then.
But our full council meeting
We're
is a
back
bit
then.
late, isn't
Yeah,
it?
we are back.
Okay, so it's
So-
full council is when?
So
16th?
full council 16th, finance is the 19th.
Yeah,
and
so we
hours
can
is
either
the
do the first week. When did we put in something else?
PBS is on the 5th.
Yeah. Oh,
PBS
right.
is on the 5th, is it?
So we're all here. for that, aren't we?
So what time's that?
I can't remember.
2:30.
2:30?
Yeah, 2:30 till 4-ish.
So we could potentially go prior to that. Do
I think if it's the same group, then we'll do it the
well,
same
it's the
day.
same group, isn't
Do it
it?
the
So we
same
may as well
day.
do it the same day.
Probably will have stuff here, 'cause
You'll have that, if we agree the merge,
Oh.
it'll be your first events and PR meeting.
Yeah. So we either got to do it before or after then.
We could do it after and then you should be okay for
So
people.
But if we ask him on
Yeah.
Monday, or ask him and say, would he be able to
Yeah.
attend that? And if he doesn't, then before we put the agenda out, we
Yeah.
swap it to
So
earlier.
at some point that day,
Yeah.
either before or after PPS.
So if we potentially put it initially,
events committee said
After.
at 4
yeah,
on that day.
yeah, at the moment. And then if he's not able to attend it, then we'll
Mm-hmm.
move
Yeah.
it earlier.
Before.
Okay, so we'll close the meeting at whatever the time is.